Welcome to another episode of Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen. Of course, I'm your host, JJ Kitchen. As we get more and more people that file in right now, we're going to give it a couple minutes. It's probably a good thing that this season's over. That was probably the worst defensive performance I've seen from Pitt in a long time. What's also good is we've happened to actually piss off a lot of WVU people, and then what's his name here? Some Cranberry. Let's see here. Vinny from Cranberry, who roots for UNC's, all upset as well. So we're getting a lot of comments, that's for sure. Guys, we'll let people file in here, and we'll get started here in a moment. Let's see here. Obviously, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and then obviously, too, if you want to see your comment to the top, make a super chat donation to the podcast, and we'll put it up on the screen, and we'll talk about it. Obviously, Pitt loses a heartbreaker, to say the least. A tough game overall. Let's see here. Let's see here. We got more and more people filing in from X. Obviously, if you're on X, head on over to YouTube. Again, if you want more people are coming in now, if you want your question up on the screen, make a small donation to the podcast, and we'll put it up on the screen. We're going to have a good one here. Obviously, people are certainly upset. Heck, we got people from Cranberry that are upset that root for UNC. Let's see here. Obviously, guys, before we get into it, the show is sponsored by Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. As you guys always know, small business run by two great Pitt men, obviously, people that I've known for a long time. Two great individuals, certainly have great customer service from top to bottom. They've got a number of different places where you're able to go out and see them, a number of different selections. Obviously, you have the Pitt, Hail to Pitt, Icy Light Can, cool design as always. You guys have been so supportive of Colonial Beer all of this year. I really appreciate it. They're great people, but more importantly, what they do for the community as well on their personal lives as well. Obviously, Alan and Bill are truly two of the best people there are. Great donors, great season ticket holders, and great supporters of Pitt. Make sure you go over and see my friends at Colonial Beer, located at 4986 Library Road in Bethel Park, PA, 15102. Also, the show is sponsored by Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson, an attorney on your side. Right now, with many people struggling with the economy and rising costs, they're helping many people with their businesses, with their debts, and they're offering free telephone consultations to assess all options available to those who are struggling, no matter the type of amount of debt. You can reach them at 724-799-8404 or visit them at thompsonattorney.com. Obviously, Brian is someone that I know. Me personally, I use him. A great individual, a great family, comes from a great support system, but more importantly, the amount of work he does in the community. Also, what's great about Brian, not unlike the large law firms, Brian sees every individual as a person, not just a number, and cares about the results that you need. He truly cares about the individual and the results, and he will work hard and continuously to make sure that you get the results that you need. Obviously, a great Pitt season ticket holder, a great Pitt man. And obviously does a great support system for donations to Pitt as well. We truly appreciate everything that he does. Obviously, Thompson Law Group with Brian Thompson. Call them at 724-799-8404 or visit thompsonattorney.com. All right. It keeps filing in here. John Waffle in here. Adam Vincic. Another Wombat. Oh, man, people are super coat made right now. It was a decent season considering last year. Yeah, honestly, I agree. You know, it's a lot better, but yeah, obviously losing 6 straight games is not good. Obviously, we don't have Eli Holstein. Nate Yarnell was not there. We had a walk-on playing quarterback today. There's a lot of focus on what needs to go on there. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of bad coaching in this game. Numerous times. I mean, there was stuff that was just beyond comprehensible. I mean, the defense I thought was horrible today. Donovan McMillan did not have a good game. Javon McIntyre did not have a good game today. I thought the defensive line was suspect all day today. I thought Cade Bell was really creative all of today. And then in the 2-point conversions, you saw crazy stuff. You saw crazy stuff from top to bottom where, Gab Bartholomew throws a pass to Isaiah Neal, a defensive tackle. Why in God's name is Isaiah Neal in the game? I have no idea what that is about. Why you wouldn't just give it to Julian Duggar to run. Also, too, why would you not on 4th down and goal at the 1-yard line when if you don't get a touchdown there, if you kick a field goal, you're going right into 2-point conversions. That's on Pat Narduzzi. It's just numerous from top to bottom of just how bad it's gotten towards the end of the year. Obviously, hey, to the people that have been asking, WVU people are going to talk anyways. They were 6-7 this year. And plus we beat them this year. Who cares? It's pretty comical overall. But thank you for the super chat. Another Wombat. Thank you for the donation to the podcast. Again, guys, if you donate to the podcast here today, we'll get your question up on the screen. Obviously, there's going to be numerous of people jumping in here and going live, obviously. Appreciate it as always. I heard Dews is retiring. Any info on that? I'm not moping about the season. They had a winning season. The freshmen looked good tonight against 6-year seniors. It is what it is. Yeah, at the end of the day, man, hell, when you're down to your 3rd and 4th string quarterback, that's not a big deal. Overall. I agree. It's a lot better than what last year was. But what just makes it worse is that it wasn't like sporadic. When you lose 6 straight games, obviously there's injuries and whatnot. I get that. But there was just stuff that I think that these coaches need to learn from. I understand, Cade Bell continuing to grow. I thought he did really good when Julian Duggar went in there. A lot of good stuff from Julian Duggar today. A lot of stuff that he needs to work on. But, Julian Duggar really kept this team in the football game. In the second half, the defense played really well until just the latter portion of the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, the end of the quarter, again, it just falls apart. You ask yourself a question about that. Just why does that happen again on the 2-point conversions? I don't think Pitt stopped them once. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, guys, I don't think Pitt stopped them once. When it comes to Dews retiring, I'm not sure about that. I think with the way college football is, anything can happen. I'm not sure about it. But all I know is this. I can tell you next year, I would think that, Dews is going to be a little bit on the hot seat. There's going to be a conversation. Obviously, from everything I've been told, is that Alan Green, the new athletic director at Pitt, is certainly a very aggressive individual, wants to win football games, wants to be a successful athletic department. I would not be shocked if there comes a conversation to where he wants to go with his guy. That probably goes on board eventually. We'll see what the portal has involved here. I think, there were certainly conversations about Sincere Edwards hitting the portal potentially. But also, too, another Wombat, I wouldn't be shocked if Pat Narduzzi, it's his last year. That'll be 11 years at one stop. We see Dave Clawson has hit has retired. Nick Saban, the greatest football coach and, the greatest college football coach ever, retires, and he's at Alabama. I wouldn't be shocked about it, to be quite honest with you. I agree, too. I'm not sure what they were looking at. Obviously, it depends on, too, guys. We're not there in practice. We don't know what they're seeing in practice. What does practice look like? I heard there was accuracy issues with Julian during the week, but obviously during the game there was not accuracy issues. I thought Julian Duggar, for a guy who didn't get all the reps during practice, played an incredible game overall. I think when you look at the aspect of Julian Duggar right now, that kid deserves a lot of props. That guy played with balls of steel. That's probably a positive out of this. Overall, again, Don McMillan did not play a great game. Javon McIntyre did not play a good game. Rylan Gandy did not play a good game. Nate Matlack. I am just utterly confused by a defensive player. In my time watching Pitt football during the Narduzzi era, Nate Matlack may be the most frustrating because of the lack of finishing a play. I've never seen a player who consistently goes around the quarterback, but never makes a play. It's the amount of pressure Pitt had on Toledo today was incredible for a duration of this game, but they never completed the tackle. They never completed it. You just have to wonder sometimes what the hell they're doing. You know, it's his last year, Matt Lack, wish him the best, but he had an absolutely horrible game today. That's a fact. But another Wombat, appreciate the super chat. Obviously, guys, if you're joining in now, we have over 333 people in the live stream right now between YouTube and X. I can see both. You guys might be only see able to see YouTube, but that's where we're at this point. Another one, Daminals. Thank you, Daminals 76. Thank you for the super chat. Why did Lynch start the game over Duggar? What are coaches doing? JD is clearly the better player. Guys, you have to wonder what you see in practice. From what I was told, there was obviously accuracy issues during the week, but also too, Julian is a scholarship player. Why are you not starting with Why are you not going with a scholarship player? I don't know why. That's a question that I had from the get-go. Regardless, David Lynch threw 2 interceptions. Julian Duggar threw 1 interception. Obviously, 2 return for pick sixes. It is what it is at this point. Not exactly the greatest decision. I think overall, while that may be an issue, the more concerning one that I have is just the lack of defense. That is just utterly concerning on my end. I don't understand why we're in a bowl game and guys are wide open. I don't know why in week 13, we're having guys that are wide open. And I mean, guys, correct me if I'm wrong. In the overtime, did the defense make one stop? Did the defense make one stop in any of the overtimes? I mean, I just don't get it. I really don't. There's got to be a conversation of just, where Pitt needs to be aggressive. I know, offensive linemen they're going to go after. I thought some offensive linemen had a good game. Some guys continue to be just completely horrible. I mean, the procedure penalties, the false start penalties have been just consistent all year. But more importantly, after we started suffering injuries up front, we started losing 2 or 3 guys up front. Eli Holstein got hurt. But at the end of the day, Lynch was certainly not the better player. Julian Duggar is certainly a better player. I can tell you this. Julian Duggar certainly made his Julian Duggar certainly earned his stripes today. I think right now, if we sit here today, Julian Duggar is the backup quarterback. Mason would be the 3rd string. And I think they'd probably go get one more guy to have a 4th string quarterback, or David Lynch be the 4th guy. But I mean, Julian Duggar really proved today that he can be your 4th guy. He's certainly a dual threat quarterback. I mean, as a big guy, he's a guy who's going to play more than often than not. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, I thought for a kid that played his first real collegiate football, played one hell of a game. Thank you again, Daminals, for the super chat. I appreciate it as always. Guys, again, if you're in here now, obviously, to get it up on the screen, make a small donation to the podcast. We'll put it up there. Didn't evaluate Pickett correctly. Started Keaton over Nate. Started Phil over Nate. Was low on Eli at the start of the season. I mean, Wombat, I don't agree with that. I mean, Pickett was a Heisman candidate. I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, he was clearly good. That was a good one. I think Keaton was still a better pick over Nate Yarnell, and Nate Yarnell couldn't stay healthy. That you could have picked Nate Yarnell during 2021, but he couldn't stay healthy. The guy got hurt. When Keaton Slovis got in there, Keaton Slovis gets hurt against Tennessee. Nate Yarnell goes in for five or 6 snaps. I mean, that was Nick Patty. Nick Patty gets hurt. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, that is less of a concern. I mean, Kenny Pickett was really good here. Obviously, Eli Holstein is clearly the better quarterback. They started him right away. I'm good with that. That's not a problem. My concern is just overall the lack of just the major issues on defense. Just why is there consistently guys running open? That is the one thing that just I don't understand. That's the one thing that just truly boggles my mind, to say the least. Let me see here. Let me see here. I mean, he took forever to go to Pickett. Brother, he went in, I mean, he went in as a true freshman. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. Um, Feels like D is missing Partridge big time. Anthony, yeah, I mean, they're missing Partridge, but also too up front for what's like really been happening over the years. Let's be honest, guys. Sincere Edwards is a true freshman. We were not used to playing true freshmen. You had Rashad Weaver, Patrick Jones. I mean, you had guys like that were really in the third or fourth year, and they were producing at a high level. You know, you had guys like that. I mean, that's kind of what we were looking at from a number of different levels for defensive ends for how many years. Sammy Okunlola was a redshirt freshman, redshirt sophomore. Dayon Hayes was a senior guy. Was more of a veteran guy. It's just a young group. It's a young group overall, but they've certainly missed on some guys. I think Matt Lack was a miss. Chief Borders, he was a miss. They got to get aggressive. They got to get aggressive on that. Let me see here. Let me see here. There's a number of different things that have to happen back and forth, guys. I mean, there's a lot of questions, and I think that there's a lot of questions too around Narduzzi. I mean, there are just some blatant decisions tonight that were just so bad from top to bottom that you have to ask and just say, what exactly were we thinking? And I think the announcers even said it best. It's 4th and goal at the 1 yard line. How are you not going for it and running a quarterback sneak? How is Cade Bell running, a play with Gavin Bartholomew throwing a pass to a defensive tackle? How does that make any sense? Just the defense not being able to get a stop. I don't get it. Ralph Williams, RW Media, Alan Green will fire Narduzzi. I mean, it's not going to happen after this year. I can tell you that. I can promise you after next year, they'll have a conversation. But also, too, guys, I mean, the reality is, I think that in Pitt's case, he would have to retire. It's probably the only way I could ever see Pitt getting rid of Narduzzi because the buyout's so big. I mean, obviously, unless they raise the money, if the donors step up and pay the cash, hey, by all means, then I see him going for sure. But, I mean, he'll certainly be back next year. They're going to have Cade Bell back next year. You have your starting quarterback with Eli Holstein back next year. You'll have you're adding a bunch of offensive linemen. You still have your wide receivers there. I think there's a number of different things that are certainly on Pitt's side on offense. Again, they have to add defensive ends. They have to. There was certainly not enough pressure or guys completing tackles or just actually finishing the play. That has to change. There's just a number of different things overall. Thank you, JJ. Happy holidays to you. Ralph Williams, happy holidays to you, brother, too. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Also to everybody here, obviously, Merry Christmas and happy holidays to you guys. I hope you guys are truly enjoying it with your families as always. What's the realistic ceiling next year? That's a great question. Their schedule is tough next year. I mean, they have, depending upon if Florida State bounces back, we talked about that. And they got West Virginia in the backyard brawl again. Obviously, I don't know how good they're going to be because they've lost so many guys. They've lost like 40 guys in their team. They should win that game next year, but it's still the backyard brawl. You can't call it, it's never an automatic win or an automatic loss. I mean, it's going to be a tough ball game. You got Notre Dame next year. Notre Dame will be really good again. That's going to be a tough game. I'd be shocked if they win that one. You've got Miami next year, NC State, Louisville, Florida State. I mean, it's going to be tough. To be honest with you, Anthony, we'll answer that question. Ask me that question after spring ball when the roster's set and we know who's actually on the roster. We'll get you more of an answer there. This year, I said 8-4, 9-3. They finished 7-5 overall in the regular season. If they do what they're supposed to, beat Virginia and then beat Clemson, they went 9-3. I missed by 2 games there. But overall, I think the ceiling is actually not bad. But guess what? A lot of things have to get better. I mean, guys have to be healthy. That's number one. They have to add certain pieces still. We're sitting here on December 26th, the day after Christmas, and I think there's a lot of things they have to get better at. And I think that from a perspective of head coaching, Pat Narduzzi's got to get a lot better in certain areas. And again, we're in year 11. I think there's just some things that just come to a fault and he'll never get better at. That's a fact. I'll try to revisit after spring ball. Thanks for taking the questions. No problem, brother. There's just numerous aspects of this that you get to look at it overall. They have to add certain players in certain areas. I think that they still need to add a tight end. They need to still finish up adding offensive linemen. I know they're actually on the verge of getting a commitment from another good offensive lineman coming up here. We'll probably hear about that in the next week or so. So that's a good thing. But they need to add talent on defense. I like our linebackers. Our linebackers played well today. Rasheem Biles, I thought, played well today. Kyle Lewis played well. Brandon George, even though he's graduating, played well today. A number of good aspects. But the reality is, too, guys, while obviously I'm not very happy about this loss. I'm not happy about losing to a team like Toledo. But when you're playing a walk-on quarterback, there has to be some realistic expectation. They're playing a walk-on quarterback, and then they play Julian Duggar, who is a true freshman. Julian, again, tough as nails. Tough as nails. I thought he played damn good for a kid who had no reps during the season. Shout out to him. I'm just not sure why people are expecting something different. I watched the same team you all did. Come back against WVU and Cincy are not good signs. I don't know about that. I mean, it's early on in the season. I mean, I wouldn't be too bad about that. I mean, at the end of the day, they have a lot of talent on this football team, but they have to add in the defensive end room, continue to add on the offensive line, and it changes. Defensive ends, offensive linemen, and preferably you got to add at least another safety, a veteran safety back there, and a tight end because you need more depth. Steven, I would say 21, obviously winning the ACC title. Yeah, I agree with that. But at the end of the day, though, they were 7-0 at one point this year before massive injuries. That doesn't make any sense. Duggar boys, no evaluation. I don't know what that means. But overall, when you look at this football team, there's numerous good things about it. But then there's some things that you just look at, there's things that pop out and say, you got to fix this very quickly for next year. Your defensive end room, you've got to add at least 2 to 3 guys in your defensive end room. I think the defensive tackle room overall, I thought provided actually a lot of spark in terms of bringing pressure. But the defensive ends were lackluster again. That's questionable. I think that possibly adding a cornerback, adding a veteran safety to that room would be key. Again, adding offensive linemen. If we've learned one thing from this year, Pitt was really good when they had their starting offensive line in there. But after they had 1 or 2 injuries, it went right down in the shitter real quick. They need to add offensive linemen. They need to be able to add guys to have certain depth. They've added one guy in Kendall Stanley so far. They're going to add another offensive lineman here in the next week or so that I know will be committing to Pitt. But some things got to get better, but also to the coaching staff. Does Randy Bates retire? There's been certainly a lot of talks about that. If he does, I would hope Corey Sanders would get the defensive coordinator job. I think he's ready to be a D coordinator. I think he's a hell of a football coach. He has certainly developed a lot of talent in his time at Pitt. Same thing with Archie Collins. He's another one. I think overall, this team, there's a lot of damn good pieces. And again, if Eli Holstein plays today, this game isn't even close. If he plays the full game, it's not even close. David Lynch, just God bless him, just was not it. Through 2 picks, have fumble. When you have multiple interceptions and then obviously returns. I even think if Julian Duggar plays the full game, we win the game. But it doesn't help that the defense didn't do anything all day. It was good for 2 quarters, but at the end of the game, it couldn't get a stop. And the 2-point conversions, the defense did nothing. And I think there's just so many guys on this defense that just did not have a good day. And when you have a defensive head coach, it's kind of a little bit of a problem. Just wanted to throw a few more bucks because you're the best Pitt podcaster out there right now. Super insightful takes, a lot better than some others. I appreciate it. Another Wombat, thank you again for another super chat. As always, appreciate the support, man. I mean, I calling it the way it is, man. Everybody knows I'm a diehard Pitt guy, man. But you got to be honest about some of these guys, man, when they have bad games. And at the end of the day, there's a number of guys that did not have a good game. But there's positives out of this game. Julian Duggar will be your backup quarterback next year. That was good to know. A guy that, a kid that really just played his heart out. I mean, you look at a kid like that who really didn't have any snaps, didn't play any snaps all year, didn't get any snaps in practice, barely any in practice, finally got snaps in practice during bowl camp and just played his heart out. I think that the Penn Hills kid has, deservingly earned QB2. And if you get him reps during the fall, during the spring camp and fall camp, I think honestly that the sky is the limit for him, man. I think he's an incredibly hell of an athlete, physical, tough. Really, I mean, just your typical Pitt guy, man. That's a bright spot. But I mean, just here we are today, guys. To be honest with you, I couldn't put out the preview video, but I didn't have Pitt winning this game. I mean, I knew that Holstein wasn't going to play in this game. The minute I knew Holstein wasn't going to play, I knew the game was going to be tough. I'm actually as shocked it was as close as it was because we couldn't run the ball the whole time. Again, luckily we had Julian Duggar that was there. Julian played his heart out again. If he plays the whole game, we probably win the game. But at the end of the day, there were just so many other guys, especially Key Thompson opted out. He didn't play today. He opted out, like 2 days prior to getting on a plane to head to Detroit. Why he did that, I have no idea why. At the end of the day, guys, it's a bowl game that, not a bowl game Pitt wants to be in. That's for sure. Does not end the season on a high note. That's not good. But the good thing that really goes into Pitt's hand is that, hey, they started a walk-on quarterback. The other good thing is you found a good quarterback in Julian Duggar. I think that you have a lot of talent there. I think that the more progression he gets, that's a true freshman. Guys, that's a true freshman that had no snaps all year. They played two quarterbacks today that didn't get, any snaps at all. I mean, David Lynch got the end of the, at the end of the SMU game, whatever that was. But Julian Duggar is your QB2. I mean, that is a guy that I think that can be very aggressive. I think there should be packages for him next year. What's really crazy is too, guys, in regulation, what Pitt scored, 30 points in regulation with your third and fourth string quarterback. It's just a different ball game if everyone's there. Obviously, Konate Mumfield didn't play in this game. If Konate Mumfield and Kenny Johnson are on the field, I think that changes the game as well. And there's just a lot of stuff that you can just go back and forth and look at it overall and just say, hey, here's how things can change. Obviously, I'm not happy about the loss. I can assure you, I was here. I got home from work. I got home from my office. I mean, there was portions of that game that were just so hard to watch, guys. I mean, that was frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. But, the season's over. We're going to the off season. I did not have high expectations for this game. I did not have Pitt winning this game. The fact that it was as close as it was, I guess, is a good thing. And just again, guys, Julian Duggar, man, I'll tell you what, that kid's got balls of steel, man. I mean, he didn't, same thing with Desmond Reed. Desmond Reed, man. That kid played his guts out. I mean, he was cramping. I mean, those guys played 5 hours of football. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due there. But not the way Pitt wanted to end the year. I mean, that's just a heartbreaking way to lose. Adam, thank you, sir, for the super chat. Thank you for the donation to the pod. Let me see here. Seems like Bell grew as an offensive coordinator. I like the wrinkles. Yeah, he grew as an offensive coordinator today. Guys, I mean, regardless, QB3 and QB4, and I think, Julian Duggar should have started the game then. I mean, clearly from what we saw today. But dude, I mean, he scored, 30 plus points in regulation with guys that were missing. I mean, that kind of gives you hope for next year. Eli Holstein will be healthy for next year. We'll have multiple offensive linemen from the portal. You've got the important guys coming back. Ryan Bayer is coming back. B.J. Williams is coming back. Those are really the two anchors of that offensive line. Lyndon Cooper will be back. I think overall you have the pieces there. But then in the day, though, they still have to add pieces on the defensive end, at the defensive end room. I mean, they added Nate Matlack. And again, that he's just one of the most frustrating players to watch because he's so close to the quarterback every time and he blows it every time. I mean, he just can't get a tackle. He runs right by the guy every time. Just uncontrollably runs by him. Steven, I mean, they didn't lose the line of scrimmage, though. I mean, the defensive end, if you want to say the defensive end didn't get enough pressure on them or didn't complete tackles, I get that, but that doesn't make any sense to what you're saying. I mean, they didn't. They moved the ball at will with a third and fourth string quarterback. You know what I mean? Bill, when it comes to bright spots, at the end of the day, you got to point out some stuff at the end of the day. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm not going to sit here like the sky's falling. I mean, we played a third and fourth. We played a walk-on quarterback today and almost beat Toledo. I'm sorry, man. I'm not sure what fans wanted overall. I mean, that's just how it is. At the end of the day, when you're missing a number of players, yeah, were there boneheaded plays? Hell yeah. Were there dumb coaching calls? Hell yeah. There's major issues there. But at the end of the day, they ended the season not with the way you wanted to, but at least you found a quarterback in Julian Duggar. You found a number of guys on the defensive side, but also, too, you found out major weaknesses that you need to improve on immediately through the portal. It's just how it is. That's the reality of it. But Adam, to your point here, I'm going to be honest with you. That play call with Gavin Bartholomew throwing to Isaiah Neal, that will go down as one of the craziest, dumbest calls I will ever see. You're on the 1 yard line. How are you running a trick play? I don't. Sometimes the creativity can just you're outthinking yourself. These coordinators outthink themselves. You've got Julian Duggar, who's like 6'4", 6'5". Julian is a guy who can just run people over for 1 yard. He can get the 1 yard and you win the game. And then on 4th and goal at the 1 yard line, you kick a field goal. I don't know. There's things that Pat Narduzzi does. You just shake your head and you just wonder, will he ever learn? And I just don't think he will. Way too many trick plays in the OT when it's 1st and goal inside the 5. I agree. Duggar. I think he's really good. I think he could be really successful. But at the end of the day, let's be honest. Eli Holstein had 17 TD passes, only 5 interceptions as a redshirt freshman too. Let's be, I think Julian Duggar had a damn good day for a guy who's a true freshman, had no snaps. The kid's good. Let's be honest. He's good. But let's not act like Eli Holstein didn't have a good year. Let's be realistic too. I get it, that the bad direct snap. Yeah, but there's just some stuff that you look at and you just say, man, that was just such a boneheaded play. There's just some stuff that it just Pitt does. It's just mind-boggling, to say the least. And there's just the time management. It's like, I hate to say it. Obviously, I'm not a Steelers fan. People know that. But there's just some stuff that Narduzzi does that just like Mike Tomlin would do in a heartbeat. But then again, there's other coaches out there that just make boneheaded mistakes too. James Franklin's one of them. We saw Neil Brown. He's done it as well. Neil Brown was fired, obviously. Yeah, there's just some stuff that just Narduzzi has to get better at. And again, I wouldn't be shocked if next year's his last year. That's a fact. Eli Holstein, I would say, is not the best player on Pitt. Jamie, I mean, I would say that's Kyle Lewis, who's an All-American linebacker. I mean, that's kind of a fact. Also, too, Desmond Reed. Desmond Reed's an All-American as well. So Pitt's got 2 All-Americans. I mean, just saying. At the end of the day, guys, I mean, there are plays over and over again. The missed tackles on defense, the guys that are just wide ass open on defense. There's just, especially in bowl prep, and obviously I know they played a lot of guys and whatnot, but you just shouldn't, even with a walk on quarterback, it's tough. If you play Julian Duggar the whole game, you probably win the football game. Because one, he probably doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't turn the ball over like doesn't turn the ball over. Let's see here. Doesn't turn the ball over like David Lynch does on 2 straight times. Doesn't throw a pick six. Again, to another Wombat, Daminals 76. Adam, thank you guys so much. Again, obviously for the super chats. Guys, again, to get your question up on the screen, give a super chat here, a small donation to the pod. Get it up on the screen. We'll talk about it. Obviously, right now, we have roughly a little over 371 people in here between X and YouTube. Obviously, a lot of people over on X. If you're over on X, head on over to YouTube. A lot less people from YouTube over on here. Obviously, head over to YouTube. Like this video if you have not done so. Like this video, subscribe. We'll be having player interviews coming up next. Mason, obviously quarterback commit. Mason obviously was on the roster today. Was dressed, but obviously could not play due to rules. Obviously, crazy to think those rules still apply. He didn't play today. But guys, at the end of the day, just a tough way to end the football season. 6 straight losses is not what you want to see. Boneheaded mistakes by Pat Narduzzi, by this coaching staff. Eli Holstein, even with Eli Holstein getting hurt against Virginia, they still should have won. They still should have won that game. They should have beaten Clemson. The defense played great in that game. I'll give them credit there. The defense played great in that game besides 2 drives, and both those drives were touchdowns. The beginning of the game and the end of the game. And then, Boston College, they shouldn't have lost either with a second string quarterback. Tough season, man. Just the way you start 7-0. You have high hopes, especially after a 3-9 year. You regroup, you hire a new offensive coordinator, all this stuff. But I've talked to enough coaches, guys, and coaches who have played against Pitt, have coached against Pitt. The first thing they tell me is that Pitt certainly has talent. The thing that they want to see moving forward is that the only way it gets better is that they correct the mistakes and they add those pieces that are missing. Again, the defensive end position has to get better. They have to add talent in the defensive end room. In the cornerback room, you probably want one more veteran guy in the corner room. You want probably one more veteran guy in the safety room. I would think probably one more wide receiver, one more tight end, and I would think at least 2 to 3 more offensive linemen. They're going to have an offensive lineman commit here in the next week or so. Good offensive lineman. He's waiting to make his announcement, obviously, whenever Pitt gets back from me on the road here. The portal closes on the 28th. That's another one as well. Defense laid an egg, I agree. Steven, Rutgers beating the crap out of Kansas State. I guess Big Ten might be the best league. I mean, I don't know about that. I think the best league is definitely as the SEC. Do I think there's a lot more parity than what it's truly there? Yeah, that's a fact. But I think when you guys look at bowl season, man, there's guys that have opted out. There's a transfer portal. Bowl season is not like what it used to be. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, today, as a prime example, Steven, I mean, we played a walk-on quarterback. I mean, that's as hard as it gets. And then we had a true freshman quarterback come in, played his guts out, played well. Made one mistake through a pick six. I mean, at the end of the year, it's a tough way to go out and lose. But at the same time, what did you expect when you're missing so many guys? I mean, it is what it is. Some bowls were canceled because they didn't have enough guys. Anthony, 100%. Also, too, to Jamie, losing to a MAC team. Jamie, Penn State, who had all of their starters in the third game of the year, almost lost to Bowling Green at home. So I don't want to hear it from Penn State people. Like, you almost lost to Bowling Green. They finished 7-5. That's funny to hear from a Penn State fan. Overall, guys, I mean, it's just a heartbreaking way to lose. I mean, just call it what it is. Just a tough season, tough way to end the season. Let's see here. I'll give it a couple more minutes here. Again, appreciate the super chats. If there are no more super chats, we'll probably end the live show here. It's just a tough way to lose, guys. I mean, overall, in the portal going forward, Pitt needs to add defensive ends. But number one, offensive linemen still. Again, they're going to have one commit, another one commit here soon. So they'll have two offensive line commits. I think they take one more or two more. Defensive end room, you need to add at least 2 to 3 guys there. Corner room, one guy. Safety room, one guy. At linebacker, you're good. At wide receiver, probably one more guy. Tight end, one guy. And then that might be it. And I think if the roster room is enough, maybe one big back. I still like Desmond Reed and Jules Goff. Jules Goff, I thought, did a great job today. He continues to get better as well. Jules Goff continues to play at a high level. If any position coaches get replaced on the staff offseason, how soon would it happen? I would say here in the next couple of weeks, and probably in the next week, Anthony, because their class is already signed. The portal will be closed after the 28th. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if Randy Bates retires. I think he's on that point. I think they're ready for new leadership there. I think Corey Sanders is ready to take the helm there. I think he's ready to take the time there. Just my opinion. But probably, today's Thursday. I would think by next Friday we maybe hear if anybody else is moving on. But I wouldn't expect anybody else on the offensive side of the football to be let go. That's Cade Bell's call. On the defensive side of the football, I think it's just Randy Bates. That's probably the only person we're waiting on at this point is Randy Bates. That's my opinion. But it's time for Pitt to get active in the portal. They've already got 3 players from the portal. There will be plenty more to come. Obviously, after the portal closes, we'll get ready for spring ball. Obviously, Eli Holstein will be healthy. As one opposing coach in the Big Ten told me, Eli Holstein did not have a full camp of actual repetitions in spring camp. He'll have a full spring. He'll have full summer OTAs. They'll be certainly adding in the players that came from the portal before the spring ball, so you'll have them in here. It'll be the second year of the Cade Bell offense. Cade Bell will take that next step as an offensive coordinator in this system. At the end of the day, it's all you can do. It's a tough way for Pitt to lose, though, but I don't see any more super chat, guys. Guys, again, I cannot thank you enough. I really hope you're all enjoying, your holiday. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Guys, I cannot thank you enough for supporting the channel. Appreciate all of you guys who follow along this season, regardless of how it ended. It's tough to watch, but I can tell you this. Truly met a great bunch of people. The amount of Pitt parents I got to meet during the year were incredible. There's incredible young men on this football team. They come from great families. The amount of parents I got to meet, again, were incredible. Truly incredible people. But now the off season begins. And it's on to the next one. I'm excited for the offseason. Excited to see what this new year brings. Guys, we'll be doing player interviews from Pitt, the guys that are returning, commitments. Obviously, Mason will be on. We'll be getting an interview with him. Shep Turk, the offensive line commit, and all Whitfield team. Offensive lineman from TJ, Thomas Jefferson. We'll be getting an interview with him. We'll be bringing him on the show. So it's about to get really fun here, and the content's about to spruce up. So again, if you haven't done so, like the video and subscribe to the show. More content will be coming out, but more importantly, real talk. So that's how we keep it real here. Guys, as always and forever, hail to Pitt and hail to the ACC. I'll see you next time.